later. Outrun, yay! Yeah, I might not enjoy very many arcade racers that don't go very far into the Mario Kart territory, but I've always held a bit of a fondness for Outrun, despite the fact that it's about as basic a racer as you can get. And unlike many of the other games where I thought that the new 3D graphics hindered the gameplay a little bit, here I actually feel that it's kind of appropriate. It still looks very PlayStation 1-ish, but at least here it feels a bit more natural than when the graphics are shoehorned into a shooter or other genres where the 2D or sprite-based graphics work just fine. And then we head straight into another racer, Monaco GP. This is probably the racing game that I enjoy the least on this particular collection. It's still kind of fun, but really it just didn't hold my interest the way that Outrun does, or it doesn't have as much going for it as virtual racing did. The only real draw for it is the fact that you're picking up sparkles that are all over the track, yay! Also, the turning controls in this game, where you have to push the L1 or R1 buttons in order to rapidly change your direction, is really disorienting and hard to get used to. Fantasy Zone. Once again, another game that I'm not particularly good at, but one that I really enjoy for some odd reason. And it's another one where Sega actually managed to make changes to the game that improve it rather than ruin it. Aside from the special stage, there's no shoehorned in 3D, and even the 3D actually looks pretty good in this particular game. And it's just a really fun, really colorful little shooter. The main changes that they made were just adding a bunch of extra modes and actually throwing in a lot of unlockables that make the game a lot more fun and a lot more easy for people like me who are not good at shooters. If you're into shooters and you haven't played this, then I would definitely recommend it, as it is one of the premier Sega shooters, along with things like Space Harrier, a game that I have already talked about. If there's one real complaint that I have about this game, it's the fact that the bosses in this can be extraordinarily cheap. Columns. It's just Columns, everybody's favorite Tetris clone. Not much else to say about it. This is a very boring part of the review. And so we come to the last game on the disc, Golden Axe, which I'm sure will be one of the best games on this collection. After all, it's kind of hard to screw up what was, and to be quite honest, what still is, one of the best arcade hack and slashes available. I mean, sure, it was notoriously difficult, but it was very popular, had some great character and art design, and had a great attack and defense system. Plus, once you mastered the charge and jump combo, you were pretty much invincible. Now, I'm confident that no matter what changes Sega has made to it in this collection, it will still be just as good as it was in its Genesis port and in the arcades. So let's take a look. Excuse me. There, now that I've gotten that out of my system. What the hell is this? I don't even! This is a perfect example of how not to remake a classic game. And I could spend an entire review just talking about how this particular version of Golden Axe fails on almost every level. The controls are slow to non-responsive. You move like you're wading in hip-deep mud. The enemies themselves are unfairly balanced, and the hit detection is extraordinarily poor. The 3D graphics, more than any other game in this collection, are downright terrible. This game is pretty unplayable, and for me to say that after some of the other things I've seen on this disc, that is definitely saying something. So, all things considered, is this collection worth your time? Well, actually yes, I would say so. Aside from the Golden Axe faux pas, most of the other games are really playable, and while the changes are annoying, they're not game-breaking or anything. And much more than the Capcom Classics collection, this actually fixes the main complaint I had with that game, the fact that you were given unlimited lives and unlimited continues. Here, you are very limited on your continues and lives, just like you would be if you were in an arcade. So the play experience is much more based on your own skill as a gamer. That, and a lot of these games, well, a few of them at least, don't really crop up in Sega's other collections very often. Games like Space Harrier, Fantasy Zone, these games have only recently started coming out in other collections, whereas games like Outrun and Golden Axe, yes, are recycled almost every time there's a new Genesis collection or whatever, but several of them are much harder to find on Sega collections. So if you haven't played any of these arcade games before, I recommend checking it out, but just be forewarned, if you have a lot of fond memories about Golden Axe in the arcade or on the Genesis, you are going to break the disc over your knee in a rage. So with all that being said, that puts an end to this review. I hope you found it informative, and it's about time for me to go out and buy the next 3 Genesis collections, because you know they're coming. I'll see you all next time.